Hello, I'm Stephen Coleman, and I'm the Graduate Recruitment CRM Specialist.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Jost. I am the Senior Admissions Analyst for the Graduate College at UNLV.
And we want to thank you for joining us on Facebook Live for our Admission and Recruitment Q&A session. So please sit back. We're going to talk about everything that you can think of today about what you would need to be ready for the graduate college or to start graduate school. So I'm going to let Liz go ahead and start a little bit just on the application process, what it looks like, and then we'll just go from there.
So before we open it up for questions and answers, we're going to talk about some admissions procedures, some FAQs, and then some grad school myths. Before I talk about my part, we did want to mention that we have two other team members on our admissions team. That's Lauren Orton, she's our other admissions analyst, and we also have a international admissions and recruitment specialist is Lori Filippo. So we have a good big team that can service your needs in the admissions office that you can always reach out to get your questions answered. So as far as admissions procedures are concerned, we just wanted to make you guys aware that there are few things that you want to make sure you're aware of, and that's deadlines are a really big deal when you're applying to a graduate program, because we have over 150 programs that you need to know about, and not all programs are the same. Some of them admit once a year, some of them admit twice a year, sometimes even they admit 3 times a year in the summer. And sometimes if you are an international student, those deadlines are sometimes even different than a domestic student. Also, there are 2 sets of requirements that you need to worry about. There's grad college requirements, and there are also department requirements. So grad college requirements include things like transcripts and the application fee. And then department requirements are things like your statement of intent, your letters of recommendation, resumes, and sometimes the department will require things like a test score, or other things that are available on their program page that you'll want to look into. And then Seaburn's going to talk about some kind of FAQs that he's going to talk about choosing a program.
Yeah, so as Liz was just saying, and I think we see this all the time where some students sometimes come in and they look at what our requirements are for the grad college. So with us, with the grad college requirements, it's a 2.75 GPA just as a flat base, just to be eligible for a program through the graduate college. And then we need your transcripts to show that you have at least graduated with a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution. And so we do make sure that we take a look at that. And then also we look for to see if you've paid your application fee. A lot of people ask about waivers. Currently now we do offer waivers for our Fulbright scholars. We offer waivers for McNair scholars. Am I missing anyone else too?
Also active duty military.
Active duty military, of course. So we do make sure that we take care of that. But for everybody else too, yes, you do need to show proof of your application fee. And for those students who are domestic, it's $60, and those students who are international, it's $95. And so once you've submitted all those 3 in, you're okay with us, with the grad college, as far as for us to process your application. However, that doesn't guarantee that you are actually going to be admitted into a program. Other programs, as Liz said, they need things like like a test score. Maybe it's the GRE or the GMAT. Maybe it's the PCATs if you're going into like another into another field and so forth. Some of them need letters of recommendation. Sometimes there's 2, sometimes there's 3. Sometimes people tell you that within your personal statement, just write who your references are and so forth. So those are things that you want to pay attention to as well too. So combining all those type of things and then in looking at what the requirements are is one of the ways too that you can actually start to look about like how to choose a program. And for a lot of times too, when we think about choosing a program, a lot of times we choose stuff based on the fact we think about the golden question whenever we're young, and even for some of us that are older now, is that what do you want to be when you grow up? But instead we like to ask people to think about a question differently. And the reason why is because if you start thinking about what do I want to be whenever I grow up? Usually we decide that we want to be what we see. For the individual who may have watched Fire Marshal John, save the cat out of the tree or put the fire out somewhere as well too. They decide, I want to be a fireman. Or for those individuals who may have been in the hospital with their grandmother, maybe they saw the nurse take great care of their grandmother, and like, oh, I know my passion is to be a nurse. Maybe we watch TV, maybe we watch CSI. One of my shows was CSI Miami when I used to like it, but I noticed that they solved crimes. Whenever that the crime would happen, whenever the sun was rising, and it'd be solved by the time the crime was, it would be solved by the time the sun was setting. And for that too, sometimes we think about it like, oh, I want to be a CSI because they think that's reality and so forth. But a better question would be, instead of asking that, like, what do you want to be when you grow up, but ask yourself about, like, where can you be like the most impactful? Like, where do your passions lie? Like, what do you do that you feel like you can be making an impact somewhere else in someone else's life and so forth? And even if you don't know, or you know that that's what you want to do, then you come talk to us afterwards, and we can help you start to actually choose, like different types of paths and so forth. A lot of things that people do, there's several different paths that they can take to get there. And if you come talk to us, we can help you get there. And in addition to, we also ask people like really real questions. We ask them, what are you willing to do, and what are you not willing to do? And are you willing to study for the GRE if you have to take one? Are you willing to move? If once you get your master's degree, if it's required for you to move somewhere else too, are you willing to get a PhD if you really want to maximize this and so forth? And then what are you not willing to do? Are you bound to Vegas? Are you like, well, yeah, but I work full time, so I'm not really willing to do like a program full time, but there's a program that may say this is the best center. These are things too. When you come talk to us about this, we put all this stuff together for you, and then we help you figure out like what you're passionate about, what you're good at, where you think you can be impactful, and then we can help you just to like choose from our 150 different types of programs that we do have. And speaking of that too, when we start looking at different types of programs, Liz is gonna talk more about expanding on that and when you should actually start looking at going to grad school.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about deadlines because one of the frequently asked questions that we get is, should I complete my bachelor's degree before I apply? And a lot of times the answer is no, because the deadline will happen before you're actually going to graduate. So in that case, you're just going to submit your most recent transcript, and you can be admitted conditionally as long as you're going to complete your bachelor's degree before the semester actually begins. And then you can just submit your conferred degree transcript once your degree posts on your transcript after school starts. And then we actually just got a really good question, which parlays into one of our frequently asked questions, is who's a good point of contact if you have prerequisites to complete before getting into a program, especially if you're not in the department you're applying to. And each program has a graduate coordinator that is dedicated to that program. And on our website, we have all of our over 150 programs listed, and they have a dedicated graduate coordinator assigned to that program. So they can tell you all of those programmatic details that you're interested in. So we would encourage you, Maria, to reach out to that program, that graduate coordinator that you're interested in. And you can always reach out to us and let us know what program you're interested in, and we can liaise with you and help you get in touch with that person.
And in addition, make sure that one of our myths as well too that we talk about too in the FAQ is that sometimes some of the programs that we think have prereqs may not actually have like real solid prereqs. So a lot of our programs, if you get an undergraduate degree in one field and you want to go into a master's degree or a doctoral degree, that's something that's completely different. Sometimes it does, sometimes that undergraduate degree works, as is. So just because you want to go into, for instance, if you want to get an MBA, you don't have to necessarily have been like a business student to go into there, or maybe if you want to be go into social work, it doesn't mean that you have to have like a bachelor's in social work or psychology or anything that actually deals with with this human service component and so forth. So if you do see a program out there, and this is for anybody, and you're wondering, well, I don't have an undergraduate degree that actually matches up to the graduate degree, don't stress just yet. Come talk to us. We'll point you in the direction of the graduate coordinator and those individuals as well too, so you can talk to, just so we can let you know that, just so they can let you know as well too, if your coursework actually meets the qualifications for the program.
And we just got another question from Jamie. What is the GPA that you need? We do have minimum GPA requirements listed on our website. The minimum listed GPA is a 2.75 overall. We also calculate it also 3.0 in your last 60 if you don't have a minimum 2.75 overall GPA. If you don't have that GPA, we will still forward your application to the department. You do have the option to be admitted provisionally. What that means is you can be admitted provisionally by the department can offer up classes that you can take at the graduate level to earn a B or better in your first semester to show that you can handle graduate work. So there still is an option. We do have a holistic approach to the review process. You can always speak to the graduate coordinator of the department that you're interested in if you're worried about your GPA in those cases.
Yeah, and make sure you talk with the grad coordinator as well. Like with us, like I say, if you have and just as Liz said too, if you have a 275, we can definitely work with you. However, you do want to talk to the grad coordinators because just because we say that you need a 275, like if it's a competitive pool, then they may take, the cutoff for them may be anywhere between a 3.3, 3.5. So it really just depends on the program. And we've seen it go either way. We've seen students who maybe not make the GPA cutoff. They get them into the program because they have such a wonderful application. Like maybe they have outstanding recommendation. They have phenomenal test scores. Maybe they took a break. Maybe they were in school and then they took a break to work, or maybe life happens. Being at UNLV, this is we do have a very non-traditional population in most cases, except with our undergraduate population. So a lot of our students do work and go to school full time. So maybe something happened along the lines and they couldn't get their GPA to where they want it to be. So it's always key that you make sure that you talk to the grad coordinator. For us, just as Liz said, is a 2.75 cutoff, but for every other program, it may be something that may be like a little different. Where for we have some really competitive programs where a 3.6, 3.7 is what what some programs are looking for, and we have some programs where if you're at the 2.75 or even like a little below, they may consider you based on the rest of the holistic process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Seaburn was going to talk about some grad school myths.
Yeah, so with that as well too, a lot of times that for individuals, they may think about it when they look at everything that we talked about, like, oh, I can get letters of recommendation, I have the GPA, but they may have other concerns as well too. One of the biggest things and one of the biggest myths that we get a lot of times is that people start to say that, well, grad school is too expensive. And yes, although grad school, can be pricey, UNLV has like some of the most affordable tuition across the nation. At $275 per credit, you can, like a lot of our degrees you can get, for less than $20,000 for an entire master's, a master's degree at that point. Doctoral degree may be a little more, but you can still get done, for, probably $40,000 even if you did like an entire full, like a doctoral degree. Now, that may sound like a lot, but when you start comparing to other institutions, and you start looking at, I'm not going to call some of our institutions out, but there's institutions that charge anywhere from $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 like a year just for school. To earn certain degrees. So, although it may seem like it's expensive, comparatively it's not. In addition, we do offer great graduate assistantship packages. So our graduate assistantship packages come in different forms. We have what we call GAs, which are graduate assistantships, and so you can work for the department that you may be applying for, or you can work externally. Like for instance, I think in our office we probably have roughly maybe 10, 12 grad assistants that work throughout the grad college, and they are pretty much although there are grad assistants, they're pretty much our colleagues because they are getting real life work every single day that they can take with them to go on to go work somewhere else too, and they have like real life experience. So that's one aspect of it. There's teaching assistants where you may teach classes for your department, and then there's RAs, what we call like our research assistants. You may do research for a different for a chair, or for a grad coordinator, or for a different professor on that as well too. The beautiful part about this is like the money that you can make that can be made. For number one, we cut your tuition. Anywhere between 80 to 100% of your tuition that we cover. The second thing about that too is that if for a master's student, we give you no less than $11,250 per year. So if you think about this, some of our programs, like I said, you can get done in $10,000. For $10,000, we're giving you more than that for a master's student. Just as a GA. So we'll cut your tuition down, and we'll give you money that you can live off of. We pay you once a month. for our PhD students, we give you no less than $15,000 per year. And the interesting part about that is that this is the minimum. We have some students who who get like a lot more because they have competitive applications and so forth. So those are different type of things too. So when we think about it being expensive, we can always find different type of ways to make sure that it's not. Another myth that we also have sometimes is that people like we talked about. Some people say, well, my current field doesn't require a major. And yes, it may not at that point in time, but there may be like an option where you may want to decide that you want to move up in a different, in a company, and you got to remember that at one point, the bachelor's degree was the cream of the crop, and that was about, that was about 40 years ago. Now the bachelor's degree is the standard. 1 in 3 people have a bachelor's degree, but when you look at a master's degree, we're looking at more like 1 in 10 people. And then when you start looking at a doctoral degree, you're looking more like 1 in 50 people. So so even though it may in your current field it may not seem like that you need one, as you progress in your career and you decide that you want to do something that may not be totally on the entry level, then yes, and you may want to consider getting like a graduate degree as well too. Other stuff too. People say I'm too old to like to get a graduate degree. And that's always one of the biggest myths. Our average student, is mid-30s whenever we start looking at like our graduate students, and we have students that start all, at all ages. We have some that are as young as 21, even 20. One of the GAs that work with us, he was 20 years old when he started his graduate degree. And we have some, that are as old as mid-70s. So you're never too old, like when you start looking at starting a grad degree. And of course, finally, like people say, I didn't take the right classes. And just as we said too, we can't stress enough that that just because you did not take the right classes, in your opinion, in undergrad, does not mean that that you are not eligible for a graduate degree. One of the things that we always say is that your bachelor's degree is more like of a testing ground. So you can kind of test out, feel the water, see what it is that you like. Get a chance to do some research. Get a chance to learn an in-depth aspect of critical thinking and so forth. And what it's doing is priming you to figure out, what it is that you want to do with the rest of your life. And so to culminate that and to expound on that more, we do tell people like to make sure that they look at like the different graduate programs. And it may be something completely different than what you did your undergraduate in, and that's perfectly okay. You come talk to us, and we have a wonderful team who can work with you to kind of help you figure out, where you see yourself going and so forth.
All right, it doesn't look like we're getting too many more questions, so we wanted to make sure you guys had our contact information if you had any more questions for us, or if you are interested in putting in an application or booking a tour or setting up an appointment. If you are interested in doing an appointment or a tour or getting some sort of advising, you can reach us at gradrecruitment@unlv.edu. If you are in that application process or have put in an application, you want to email us at gradadmissions@unlv.edu. We also have a dedicated international email, so if you're an international student, you can email us at internationalgrad@unlv.edu. And if you want to give us a call, that's at 702-895-3367. That's our main admissions line. So please feel free to call us anytime, and we'd be happy to talk to you. So I think that's it.
Yeah, so if there's no other questions, thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Alrighty.